Chinese culture, and thus Chinese mythology, is thousands of years older than any Western cult or culture. And so it naturally has a more balanced perspective between the yin and yang, and also between the heavens and the demon realm. If you look at a Netflix series such as The Love Between Angel and Devil, one of the things that you see is that as is often the case, the heavenly figures are in many ways as corrupt, as lacking in integrity, as vicious as the demons, and vice versa, right? It goes full circle, and there is a natural sense of order, and that all the different constituents are at the table. It's not unusual in Chinese mythology for the Demon King to get a birthday invitation to Heaven King's birthday, etc. And in that lens, it offers as a mythology an awareness of what is perhaps the most important migration in consciousness for a human being, the migration between the transcendent and human realms. Well, we can draw them as kind of three spheres. We have the transcendent brain with its, transcendent movement beyond the ego identity, the service of something bigger, the service of ideals, the enjoyment of loving another. You have the transcendent brain. You have the empathic human brain, which has empathy, even if it doesn't respond to that empathy. In other words, a human being may behave sociopathically in any number of instances while feeling empathic. I'd like to be able to help that person right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to continue driving to work. I'd like to be able to do something for these people I see suffering over here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to buy a new stereo, right? So there's a tension between empathy, which in a transcendent state would lead to empathic behavior, and the reptilian state, which doesn't feel anything at all, right? So down here we have the fight, flight, freeze brain. We have the empathic brain, and we have the transcendent brain. So the human, the one capable of feeling empathy for oneself, the one aware of the grounded nature of caring for our own body and prioritizing that, that's the line, that's the sword, that's the sociopathic. That's saying I'm going to take care of my family at the expense of your family in a paradigm of limitation. Meaning in an incompetent framework, there isn't enough, right? When there's competency in an unlimited energy field, there is enough. And so you don't have to decide. But when there's incompetency, even in an unlimited energy field, there isn't the ability to transform that unlimited energy field into unlimited human resources. As a result of limited human resources and a need or a desire that outstrips those resources, we must decide. And the human being, grounded in the reptilian brain, typically decides to take care of themselves before taking care of someone else, and to take care of their own family before taking care of another family, and at a slightly larger scale to take care of their country before taking care of another country. So that's, and there's beginning empathy, there's a beginning sense of awareness of the other, but there's still the choice to prioritize one's self. Now, what we can see if we look closely is that anytime we act out of fear, and all fear stems from pain, so anytime we act out of fear that if we don't do something, we will experience pain in the future, or fear that if we do something, we will experience pain in the future. Anytime we act out of fear, we're acting out of the reptilian brain of fight, flight, and freeze. We may do it with a rational overlay of trying to filter which way is going to create the most pain. If I do this, I'll feel a lot of pain. If I do this, I won't feel as much pain. So that's the reptilian brain. Mythologically, that's the demon realm. That's the realm of fire. That's the realm of pain. Why? Because the god of the reptilian brain is pain. And the secondary god, the right-hand assistant of the god of pain, is fear. All fear is fear of pain. So you have two gods in the reptilian brain. We have pain plus fear of pain. That's it, right? So there they are. Pain and the fear of pain. Empathy, you have curiosity, you have love, right? You have connection, you have trust, you have a lot of different gods when it comes to empathy. And the key distinction to know if you are solidly, or if anyone is solidly in empathic terrain, is this. And this is a huge gap between the typical muddle of fear and pain and desire to look good out of fear of pain, etc. Who is in the most pain? How can we help? That's empathy. Who is in the most pain? How can we help? That's empathy. Empathy moves from the domain of the need of survival. The reptilian brain is the domain of survival. Right after survival is secure, the next human need is love and belonging. Empathy is what creates the framework of trustworthiness that allows trust to blossom, which does not exist in the reptilian brain. There is no trust in the reptilian brain. Trust is only possible in the empathic brain, in the human brain. The difference between the human animal and the human being is empathy, is trustworthiness. And then we have the heaven realm, the angelic realm of transcendence, right? This is a state of incredible competency, right? Where the competency is so high that the abundance is so great that it becomes more exciting, more fun to give, to serve, to move beyond the self, than to be in one's little cage defending one's limited resources from the fear of pain and the unknown. So what's fun and interesting, and it's a common theme in the Chinese mythology, is the constant migration between transcendence and the reptilian brain, or angel and devil. So I thought we could look at what does it take for the transcendent to become demonic. For someone in a transcendent state to enter their reptilian brain. So there's a couple of ways that an angel can become a devil, which is simply that someone looking out of the lens primarily of the transcendent brain can start to look out the lens primarily of the reptilian brain. So the first thing is trauma. So we're looking at the kind of steps here, so we can say that trauma is one of So trauma always redirects blood to the reptilian brain. So, and trauma is, of course, a symptom of lower competence. Meaning, in order to be traumatized, you have to be blind in a certain area. You have to be helpless in a certain area. And when you are blind and helpless, you can be traumatized. You are traumatized. And then blood starts being reprioritized to keeping the body alive and leaving the transcendent state. So trauma is a key dynamic. So, but the underlying, foundations of trauma are blind spots, low competency, because nobody wants to be traumatized, right? But if you don't understand the territory, right, you're out in the blissed out state and you didn't take the time to learn that there are rattlesnakes. You didn't take the time to learn what are the warning symptoms of the rattlesnakes. There's a low competency. There's a low level of awareness of what's going on. Well, you can be out in a blissed out state, either high on mushrooms or high on life, doing your breath work, your yogic state, etc. But if you didn't bother to learn about the rattlesnake and what the gradations, how the land communicates its weather patterns, its various cycles, then it doesn't take much to knock one's self out of that high state, down into terror and helplessness. Pain sets in. You realize you didn't know what you were doing. You realize you don't know what to do now. Helplessness sets in, right? And then pretty quickly the brain reprioritizes blood, down to the reptilian level of fight, flight, freeze, and survive. So trauma, with its foundation of ignorance, and low competency. And obviously you can't become competent of any, in any domain that you are ignorant. So this is through, I guess, the doorway of naivete, right? Refusing to understand that there are lots of different energy patterns and cycles in any ecology. And if we don't find the right relationship between our energy pattern, our body, and all these other cycles of energy, many of those energies are more intense, more toxic in their extreme, bigger than our own. And so if we don't find our right relationship with those things through ignorance and the naivete of allowing ignorance, then we will run into eventually one of those larger energy patterns. And as we do, the larger energy pattern in the law of mass dictates that whenever two energies collide, the larger energy, the bowling ball, sends the smaller energy, the pinball, flying. Large energy and small energy collide, the pinball bounces off, the small energy bounces off, the large energy continues its trajectory. And that's, of course, what happens, right? When a person walks out in front of a moving bus, the bus continues, the body goes flying, right? So that's the descent with trauma. Now, the other descent is obsession. And obsession in its broader sense, and the Buddhists do a great job of, understanding this kind of whole territory of obsession and attachment. But obsession is another path from the transcendent state down into the demon state. Now, obsession can take a couple of different forms. One of the, more ironic forms that kind of beauty, truth, and goodness can take one down into the state of hell is becoming attached to an idea, to an ideal, to a person, a thing, a project, an art piece that represents, we place it in the domain of the divine, right? Now, because as spiritually illiterate cult members of materialist culture, we do not have a lot of vocabulary psychologically and verbally to distinguish between what's good, what's beautiful, true, and good, and its symbol, right? And so it's one of the areas that is most fuzzy in materialist cults. Is you have the ideal, and then you have a symbol, a placeholder for that ideal. And the placeholder is not the ideal. But when you have a materialistic vocabulary, the symbol is more real than the transcendent energy that the symbol represents. And here's what I mean. So here's the symbol of the ideal. So what does the ideal start like? Well, it starts off like, I want to be relaxed, I want to be calm, I want to be masterful. Okay, what does that look like? Well, the symbol of that would be meditation. Okay, I need to become a meditation master. Okay, now you've got meditation master is now holding the symbol as an idea for that ideal. Then you say, okay, well, who's the most important meditation master? And you say, okay, Eckhart Tolle, that's the one, or this other one. Krishnamurti, it's this one, it's that one, doesn't matter. But the rational brain, in its attachment to symbol, will then look, okay, who's the best symbol, right? Okay, Eckhart Tolle. Well, then, what's the best thing to, what would be the embodiment of that? Well, you'd go to the close, you'd subscribe to the highest website tier, right? Or if, you buy all of Eckhart's books and the audiobooks, right? You would go to his events, right? And you'd stay at the best, the best room in the best hotel at the most Eckhart Tolle events, right? So that's becoming the symbol. And so the ego, the I that seeks to identify, hold on to a pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being, has literalized this sense of transcendence and peace into kind of arriving in a Tesla, right? A low emission vehicle to an Eckhart Tolle event and wearing handmade jewelry, and woven from yaks in the Himalayas, right? So this was flown in from, straight off the yaks in the Himalayas, hand woven by women, by empowered women who charge double, right, for other woven fabrics. So you get the idea. So all that, right? You've got to get the and you're on the phone with your assistant. What do you mean the woven yak fabric? Get it over here in UPS. Get it over immediately. We've got to have it for the Eckhart Tolle event, right? And what do you mean the best room in the hotel is booked? Get them out of there. I'll pay a bribe to the hotel staff. I need that room. I need this and I need that. And I want the first room. And hey, you, my assistant, go in there, 5 a.m, get the first seat. figure out where the microphone, because I want to be the one to talk to Eckhart Tolle. And so in the movement between the symbol of this peaceful, relaxed state, right? So, and then we should work with the teacher, right? And then you should work with the best teacher. And then you should wear the best clothes and drive the best car to go to the best teacher and be at all the events. I saw you in Australia, now I'm in Canada, right? Because that's how amazing I am, right? You see, I'm doing the spiritual thing. And then, your assistant comes back and says, this other person, their assistant got there just before me, right? And so they're sitting in the front row. It's like, oh gosh, damn it. Do something. Try and here's $500, get him out of there, right? We want to be the one to speak with Eckhart Tolle, right? So hopefully, right, you get the problem here, right? That when the transcendent ideal is confused with the symbol of that ideal, then rather than staying at home and enjoying a few breaths and having a cup of tea and being present for your family, you're rushing around, clawing and attached to every little thing to try and get the best expression of the best symbol at the best time. No, we have to go at the equinox. No, we can't just go to the, donate money to the, no, we have to donate on the equinox at the best spiritual time. That's what we have to do, right? And of course, it's complete obsession with the symbol of the transcendent ideal in such a way that there's no possible capacity to experience anything. Because even if you're sitting there, your assistant got you the number one seat, you say something, did I do it right? Right? There's no capacity to transcend anything because we're attached to the symbol. So this is a very common form of, it's constant. If you've spent any time in spiritual circles, i.e. people driving around in Teslas with hand-woven yak, blah, 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 you will find incredible narcissism, incredible self-centeredness, incredible anxiety. Am I doing it good enough? Am I, the ego, doing the appearance of good enough? And jealousy. They got to speak to Eckhart Tolle. Why didn't I, right? And shame. Like, they arrived in the Tesla. I couldn't afford a Tesla. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm ashamed, right? Complete obsession with looking good for fear of being shamed, for fear of looking bad. In other words, reptilian fight, flight, freeze. Reptilian fear being projected onto the obsessive pursuit of the symbol of the transcendent state. Did you know if you have just even $2 million is enough to secure an audience with the Dalai Lama? And you can video it, right? The cult leader at Nixium, that ended up kind of falling down is incredibly common, meaning it's very, very common, whether it's popes of the Catholic Church or spiritual leaders, whatever, the descent is incredibly common. In part because when you have grasping, obsessive cultures pursuing the symbols of spirituality, it is often a grasping, obsessive cult leader that secures the right symbols. They have a nice white, clean robe. They always, their teeth are so clean. Isn't it wonderful? And then the gold chain, and then they have the fresh flowers and the altar and stuff. It's often a very organized, reptilian, rational brain that can climb and embody all the symbols. And to the majority of people that are pursuing the symbol of the transcendent state, rather than being in touch with the transcendent state and letting life evolve out of that, they're not going to notice how, that Deepak Chopra is a bit nervous and has an anxiety and tries to think. They just, Deepak Chopra, right? He has the right accent, the right Indian accent, right? The right. They're not going to notice, right? And Deepak's son did a wonderful little. Children, adolescents hate it when their parents are hypocrites because they always have to deal with it. So teenagers are wonderful at exposing our own hypocrisy in all numbers of areas. Just get a teenager, and if you have an ounce of hypocrisy in you, you'll have it, served up nicely. And, Deepak's son did a wonderful job of, my father's a coffee addict. He's can't be off his phone for more than a few minutes. He rushes around doing all these things. He's a junkie, posing as, this great, healer. And, but like, why is that? Like, why is Deepak so successful in that state? Because the fantasy, the adolescent fantasy of what it is to be a spiritual person is very, very close to Deepak's life. There'll be grace will happen, there'll be lots of money, there'll be energy of abundance. I'll write spiritual books that help people around the world. I'll have a soothing accent. I'll be somewhat indigenous. Maybe I'll buy a nice robe, from Himalayan tribes or something like that. I'll have a crystal, and then, here it'll be. Well, it's a very, very common thing. In other words, this isn't singling out Deepak or his son or anything like that. The same thing is going on with me. The same thing is going on in most sections of our cult, of our culture. We have an idea, I have an idea, and then I move into this frantic state of trying to secure the symbol at the expense of the essence, right? I'm going to do yoga. Okay, I've got to go on to Amazon and buy the right yoga mat. Anyway, that's how obsession about the symbol leads to the descent. But, that's a very easy thing to see is, I'm rushing around trying to get first in line, at the Deepak Chopra workshop or this, or I went to 3 crystal festivals. I went to this. Were you in Miami? No, well, I was in Miami, right? I went to that one too. I went to this one over here, right? 5 festivals in 1 year. I went to all of them. I did a psychic reading over here. Oh, you didn't do a psychic reading over there? Well, it's amazing, amazing. You missed out. I did a psychic, and I also did one over there where you did too, but the one I went to was even better. And so, look at my bookshelf. I haven't read all of them, of course. I don't understand any of them, but look at them. The Power of Now, this book, that book. My books are all lined up, right? I'm a nice, tasteful crystal, right? I didn't want to get too big because I'm afraid that it will look ostentatious. I'm not tuning into the energy or anything. I'm just, and so this is the adolescent's best effort at looking good, being, appropriate. And the more obsessed one is, and then obsessed one is it with not being obsessed, like, don't let anyone know that I, outbid everyone on eBay just so I could get this for the event. So I could say, the universe it was meant to be. You know, feverishly up until midnight, outbidding everyone on eBay, but it was meant to be. And so that's obvious, you know, that's pretty easy. But what's another subtler or harder to see form of this? Well, what about injustice? Here's this lovely, innocent child that you see. And then you learn that that child's been sex trafficked. That nice, lovely 5-year-old, you know, used to, what a lovely smile. And this horrible, horrible person, this neighbor, whatever, sold that boy into sex slavery. And now he's working a brothel. You know, you ran into him, his drug, did all this stuff, is a complete horrible, horrible thing. Look at that beautiful innocence in that young boy. This is wrong. It's wrong. And I've got to do something about it. It's wrong. I've got to do something about it. I will not accept that wonderful young boy, the one I think about when I think of what innocent childhood is like, the child I most like to play with, of all the kids that I've played with in the world, this was the child I love. I always have a nice memory. And now look at what's happened, right? Now look at him. Well, I cannot accept this. This is wrong. I'm going to do something about it. Well, you go to the brothel owner and say, release that boy. And he says, no, I've got, you know, X amount invested in them. You know, he's going to be good for another 5 years. I'm not going to release that boy, you know, for at least $40,000. That's what I've got into him. I'm not releasing that boy. And then you say, this is an outrage. If I pay the $40,000, I'll be supporting bribery. I will be part of the problem. I'll make it profitable for other kids to be exploited. I'm not going to pay a fucking penny. Now, if you're paying attention, we've just started to enter reptilian territory, right? This beautiful young boy, wonderful innocent memories, abuse, cruelty, hardship, prostitution. No, fuck no. It's not going to be this way. Fuck no. Now, what is that? It's righteous anger. It's the will of the Lord. Well, which Lord? The Lord that burns people in hell for not doing what they're told? The Lord that burns witches at the stake for having the audacity to be intuitive women? Which Lord are we talking about? Right? We're talking about a reptilian God of vengeance, of intimidation, of fear, of the way of the Lord, right? So we're down in reptilian territory. I'm not going to accept the way life is. I'm not going to accept reality. And my bottom line shifts from my state to controlling other people. Now, this is a very important shift, right? Because we do have control of our state. For example, we could take a detour at this point and try and understand the life of the pimp. Like, there's a lot of different things to be done in life. How and why is it that controlling other people sexually and trading people's money or dignity or whatever for money became the most meaningful, the most valuable, the thing that you value above all else? Because anyone who is a pimp is saying, in essence, of all the things I could be doing, of all the things I could be selling, of all the ways that I could be being, of all the products I could be, listing, any of the things, I'd like to sell other people's bodies for money. And, that's what I'd like to do. Now, that could be arrived at by what would be the most profitable, or it could be arrived at what would make me feel the most powerful. But whatever it is, that's medicine for the pimp. Whatever we're doing is the best medicine we've found in our lives at that point. Now, I could take a detour and say, what kind of life, what kind of family system, culture, history gives this the highest pleasure, the highest vote of all the things that you could be doing? I'd like to learn about that. And I'd like to go into the memories and the states that led to this series of choices feeling the best. Because I don't understand it. I don't understand how you became you. When I looked at that little boy and I just saw, I would love to see him go through life without encountering anything that would destroy that wonderful smile. And that's what I saw. But what is the life that led you to the way you saw? Now, the spiritual critic says, fuck that. No, we're not going to empathize with that. That's wrong. That's bad. And bad people, as we know with the Christians, right, the heathens, they're not human and they don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve to be burned at the stake. They deserve to be slaughtered, as millions of native people were. They deserve to be infected, right, because they're not human, because they're not Christian, right? They're not of our cult. And so the other is fundamentally bad, and I do not owe them anything. Nada. Zip. Fuck them. Right? Reptilian terrain. I'm afraid of pain. I'm afraid of the pain of understanding how and why not just this young boy, but millions upon millions of children have their innocence ripped away. I don't want to feel any of that pain. I'm afraid of it. I don't want to understand why someone might choose to be a pimp. I'm afraid of contamination. That's bad. I've judged that as bad. And if I understand it and have some tolerance, maybe I'll be bad too. I don't want any of that, right? I just want to be righteous and detached. Well, where do you go when you've decided that pimping is bad, that it must be stopped, and it must be stopped in a hostile or a confrontational way because you can't support it? Because, of course, if the pimp is primarily commercially motivated, if you pay enough money, you get what you want. Your boy is released, right? You just have to pay the pimp more than they think they will get, whether it's a he or a she. But she knows the life of her, her prostitutes, and you just have to give her enough money, and she'll release the boy. And there's peace. The boy's free. The pimp is free, goes out and buys another child with the money. You've got the boy. You've righteously fixed the problem. Of course, now they need to buy another, prostitute. You could do that. Or, but no, this is wrong. This is bad. So what are you going to do? Are you going to hire a kidnapper? Well, you can't hire a priest, right, to kidnap the boy. Priest that's not what we do, right? So I can't hire a priest. Can't hire a business person for the most part because they say, well, kidnapping is illegal, or maybe I'd get shot. It's not a good proposition. So who do you hire to kidnap this boy from the pimp? You got to go underground. Well, how much are you going to pay for the kidnapping? Well, how do you feel about paying someone to kidnap a boy who doesn't care about the boy, who's just there for the money? Well, at least the pimp isn't going to get anything out of it, and that's the important thing. Yeah, but the kidnapper will, and that creates a lucrative market for kidnappers. So, okay, I'll kidnap him myself. I'll kidnap him. Well, what do you do when one of the other kids who's been trained and brainwashed into loyalty to the pimp alerts the pimp to your presence, or is about to? Do you knock the other kid unconscious so that you can steal your kid out without getting caught? What if the police start chasing you and you know the police are in cahoots with the pimp, as is often the case? What do you do now? Do you justify killing the police so that you don't go to jail in a hostile country? You're in Burma, right? You kill the police because they'll put you in jail for 20 years and you're not willing to accept that either, and they're corrupt and blah, blah, blah. So now you kill the police, right? Now you become on the wanted list. You become bitter. All I was trying to do is fucking save one boy. You see? This is the next terrain of obsession, which is saying no when something that had the symbolic placeholder for our archetype of something good and beautiful and true, because all sacredness is in the domain of beauty, truth, and goodness. A more beautiful world, a better world, a good world, right? That is where heaven is. And we can't relate to it in the abstract, and so we create little symbols. The organic farm is the symbol of progress, that we're starting to be ecological. So if big agriculture starts bullying the organic farm, I'm not going to put up with that because that organic farm is good and you're bad, right? So we're attached to the symbol. The little boy is good. The the pimp is bad. And that beautiful forest where I had that transcendent mushroom experience, I went through that and I felt the dyads and naiads and elves and fairies in the trees, and nature spoke to me, and this fucking goddamn multinational corporation is hiring loggers and they're just ripping them apart. That forest is good, right? And this nice, kind person who trusts strangers, they're good too, right? So here are my four symbols. And they're all being harassed in various ways. All the symbols are being dishonored by reptilian people, by people in just want to get a paycheck. I don't really care about forests and whatever. I just want someone paid me to cut these trees down. I'm going to cut them down. But you can't think, right? I am thinking. I'd like to go visit my family this Christmas, and I need $2,000, and I'm going to get $2,000 for cutting this forest down this week. That's what I'm thinking. No, think about the diet. No, I don't have that experience. I've never taken mushrooms. I don't know these trees. and then what about this nice person, right? Those criminals, they just stole her bag. She was so nice to me the other day. So this is hatred of God. Why this is wrong. Hatred of God, judgment of life, controlling reality. This shouldn't be. This is wrong. I'm going to stop it. Well, every time we take that position, we descend into the reptilian brain, and we have to engineer a way to have revenge, a way to control, and a way to stop people in the world from doing what it's doing and what it wants to do. right? Because let's say, going back to our pimp analogy, let's say that you pay the $40,000, you rescue the one boy from the woman who's selling out these boys to tourists, and then you come back and you see she's got another boy, and you say, this has got to stop. Well, what are your options? The pimp obviously isn't listening to reason, so you kill the pimp, right? Five boys go free, right? Do they go back to a family that wants them? Well, what do you do with a parent that sold a child to a pimp, right? Do you kill them as well? But the tourists come back. They want to hire young boys. That pimp is gone. The neighboring pimps expand their business, or a new pimp says, you know, I always wondered what happened when Mama so-and-so had her, little brothel. She made good money. The brothel's empty now. The lease is there. I'm going to step in and, take over the business. You say no. What? You kill everyone who operates that business. Well, then the tourists go somewhere else. And so you say, no, it's not the pimp's problem. It's these fucking tourists. So you start killing off the tourists. And then you say, no, it's not the tourist problem. It's these idiotic educators. These parents, this culture, this media, it's constantly teaching, poorly designed, there's no chauvinistic, materialistic, get what you want. It's all about you, the whole individualistic cult. Okay, so do you want to start a nuclear war? Like, should we eradicate that whole cult? Because they're not listening to you either, right? They just get angry at you. They write nasty tweets if you say something online. So now I'm being bullied. Me, the person that wants a more beautiful world, is being bullied. This is wrong. The whole fucking world is wrong. God's wrong for making these fucked up people. And I'm going to stop it. Everyone, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. And they're not taking me seriously. I've got to do something, right? Blow up, do a bomb threat. Then they'll take me seriously, right? So you see the problem, right? Because what else is there to do other than to blame, shame, criticize, attack, and make war out of righteousness? But what's the result? Like, I'm going to shame you. Shame on you. Shame on you. You're having an abortion. Shame on you. You're killing people. You could stand with your placard. Look at those people just ignoring my placard. Oh, I want to kill them, right? So you have the descent into the reptilian brain. So obsession of the object of the ideal rather than obsession with the ideal, which you can't obsess with beauty, truth, and goodness. If you're in that state, then you can see beauty, truth, and goodness through that lens in everything. You can see beauty, truth, and goodness without attachment. You can be curious. Oh, looks like that person is trying to connect with some wounded inner child and doesn't know how to do that. And so he's trying to have some kind of intimate relationship with children. I wonder where that's from. Looks like this woman is trying to go up in rank so that she can reclaim some of her dignity that she didn't have in a culture that shamed people for being poor. She was born poor in a brothel. She had no dignity, and now she's the owner of the brothel, and she's proud. that now she has the money in a cult that doesn't respect people, but respects money. Then you could say, well, how is it? How could people evolve in such a way that they're more interested in money than they are in themselves and their own people? Why would someone sell a family member? What's going on there? Well, maybe if I sell my child, I can forgive my parents for selling me. Because it makes sense. I understand it now. It's not just some strange thing that I just can't comprehend. I understand their point of view now, right? So I have some peace with my own family from carrying the pattern forward. By copying the pattern, I'm closer to my family, right? And I see, I don't hate this child. I just see that we don't have a lot of food here and we need money to better the family for here, and so I'm going to sell this child to a brothel. Now, look, the rest of the family is happy. We have more money. The neighbors are not shaming us. The bill collector is, so I've solved the problem. Now I understand. My parents didn't hate me. They were trying to escape the shame of not paying their bills. And I presented a great opportunity. I gave my parents this solution. I was the solution. I'm not the cast out of my family. I was the solution, and now my child is the solution as well. Maybe that's what's going on there. And what to do about it, right? Is there a way that I want to create more business opportunities for women? Or do I want to do something that increases the SAFE, maybe a review site for brothels and diseases and track customers? Maybe a passport rating card that people with STDs cannot have unprotected sex with anyone in a brothel because you check that passport number and all the brothels share that, so that fewer of the prostitutes die of HIV from customers that might otherwise infect 20 or 30 people with HIV. I want to do that. And nobody's going to fight me. The brothel person is not going to fight me of trying to prolong the life of their prostitutes. The prostitutes are not going to fight me. The government isn't going to fight me. And the more ethical customers are not going to fight me either, because they don't want it on their conscience that they killed 20 people with unprotected sex and HIV, right? But then there'll be a small number of people that don't want to be registered and don't want to get tested. But then it's, it's up to a brothel owner and a prostitute. Do they want to accept those clients and take those risks? And probably the rates go up. So do I want to understand the whole ecology and improve the situation? Hand out free condoms or make a condom that feels better than the current condom, so that there isn't this, it doesn't feel as good. Or do I want to work on a cure for AIDS? Or do I want to start a more humane brothel where there's a nice social experience and people come in, and after an hour of whatever, it's up to the prostitute to decide who they want to get more engaged with? How do I want to work with this without becoming a demon, without descending into judgment, into fear, into control, into domination, into I'm right and you're wrong, into battle, into murder, into hate? right? Because what happens also in the intensification of the demon level, right? So you starts out with an obsession, like I've got to do this. Well, then what happens when that's in opposition with other people, right? I've got to do this. That's in opposition to other people. So then I've got to do this manipulative thing, which even I, as my spiritual person, with my righteousness, recognize hiring a hitman, it's not or a hit woman, right? Because we got to have equal opportunity. And, you know, we don't want to be chauvinistic, right? Hire a hit woman to take these people down. Well, then I've got to lie about it, right? Did you hire a hitman to take down this brothel owner? No. Peace be to brothel owners, right? We didn't do that. And then, okay, so I'm committing murder. Now I'm lying. Now I'm trying to bully that kid, right? The kid feels safe because the brothel owner has always been the top of the power structure. So the kid has learned to defer to that, and no one else protected the kid in the past. So the kid feels now terribly insecure now that the brothel owner is dead, and you know wants to go and go, and they have to say, no, come on, you gotta go now, right? So I'm basically kidnapping the kid and making the kid do something else. So now I'm coercing the kid. Maybe I'm guilt tripping them. Look at all I've done for you, you know, and this is how you treat me. Da, da, da. Well, somewhere along the line here, you realize I'm a murderer, I'm a thief, you know, I'm a liar, I'm manipulating, I'm obsessed, right? And then you say, wait a minute, how could I become this way, right? Well, it's that fucking prostitute fault. It's the government's fault. They keep letting people do this, and it's the tourist fault. It's everyone's fault. Everyone. The entire fucking world. All these fucking rich people just turning a blind eye, sending their kids over here as they play around with children, right? And then nobody's doing anything, and then they cover it up. The fucking, you know, assholes, they pay off the press not to run stories on the whole fucking thing. I am innocent. I'm just trying to save a fucking kid's life. Is that really so wrong? Right? I hate what they've done to me. I've had to become this. You know, so now you become a little bit crazy, right? I've had to do this. No, you didn't. You chose to set out and obsess about this. No, I had to do it. It was the right thing to do. Now you become a little bit crazy. They did it to me, right? Meanwhile, your business is, of course, suffering. It's not very good for business, rushing off, taking time off work, rescuing kids. Your business is down. Your wife is trying to figure out, you know, what's going on? What are you doing over there? I'm getting calls. Why aren't you at work here? Right? So you're married. Shut up. You know, I can't talk now, right? So your marriage is going down. Your business is going down. Maybe your health is going down. You're anxious. You're nervous. Waking up as he killed the pimp yet, pacing all night, getting, you know, bad night's sleep. It was all going down. And so at some point, your life is hell. I'm nervous, deceitful, making up lies to cover up other lies. No, I don't have any more work for you. Stop contacting me. I don't normally hire murderers. I was just trying to rescue, but you go away, right? Maybe you get blackmailed. Now I've got to hire someone else to kill the hit person. You know, that hit woman was now blackmailing me. They're going to reveal that I hired them. Unless da-da-da-da-da, right? So now I've got to bribe the police. So the descent into hell, paved with noble intentions, starts with an attachment to a symbol of the more good and beautiful world. And this is perhaps one of the most interesting ironies to understand that this is actually the norm. That the descent into hell, the descent into reptilian territory and the predominance of the reptilian brain, the descent into lying, murder, theft, deception, blackmail, you name it, the descent into poor health, the distracted attention, I'm focusing on this, that descent invariably occurs as a result of attachment, not to something boring. Nobody descends and becomes a demon because of French fries. Now, you might do it about the righteousness of French fries. They stole my French fries and I'm not going to let them get away with it. They bully. They just, the tall macho guy you saw over there, he just came over, he just grabbed my French fries because he could. Because he could. Fucking asshole. I'm going to get him. You know? I'm not strong enough to fight him right now, but you wait. I'm going to get him, right? So it's not about French fries. Nobody becomes a demon because of a bagel, right? Nobody becomes a demon trying to get a crappy job at McDonald's. They got the job at McDonald's. I didn't get the job at McDonald's. No. They don't become obsessed because somebody stole their Chevette, right? It always begins by confusing the more beautiful, good, and true world of the ideal with a symbol of that. That's the sweetest person I know. How could God do this to them? My child was so loving. Why did God take this child? That was his pride and joy. He worked every day on that Lamborghini for 10 years. Was his dream, and then someone just smashed it up with a sledgehammer. Of course he went off the deep end, right? It's always the highest sense of beauty, truth, and goodness conflated with a symbol of beauty, truth, and goodness that is then dishonored, violated, cannot be gotten. The good thing cannot be gotten, right? You think of two best friends that both fall in love with a woman, right? They don't fight to the death because of a mediocre woman. But she was perfect. She was so kind. She had such a smile. Her skin, right, was like paper. They waxed poetic. And for her, I could do anything. I could kill. I could do this. In other words, when the mythical landscape of the ideal crosses over into the symbol in a confused and materialistic culture, I've got to have her. She likes my friend. We've been friends for 30 years, but I've got to do this. I've got to do this, clip the brakes in the car, do this, send an email. I got to do this because it's for the ideal, right? And so this is, in a sense, the passionate pursuit of the confused ideal of beauty, truth, and goodness becomes the greatest blind spot for reptilian behavior, because it's justified with this constant refrain of, but it's for her. It's the one. It's the career to end all careers. I just have to get rid of this front runner, right? Who's going to possibly beat me to my dream career. It's the one, right? And so that's a very confusing, meaning because if you didn't long for something wonderful, or you dream of serving your country, If I could just serve my country. Okay, so what do? Do you join the military? Do you become a politician? What do you do, right? Well, often well, now, right, you just want to serve your country, but this person's getting ahead in the polls. Well, I'm going to dig up some shit. Find some shit on them. I want to serve my country, right? So there's the descent. Now, this is in Chinese mythology, to go, look, at these different things. This is the most common way of moving from angel to devil. So usually, for example, one very common theme, an older brother who's charged with protecting the innocence of his sister. The sister will be held hostage by a demon, and the demon will demand that the brother do demonic things, i.e., just a common hit job, right? I've got your family. If you don't want your family to be blown up, you work at this corporation, you work in this government sector, make sure this bill passes in Congress, or your daughter will be blown up. Okay, right? So that's a descent, right? The fear of facing the pain of losing one's daughter allows someone at the top, right? I'm here to protect the people, to undermine the people out of fear of feeling that pain. And how does a demon become an angel, so to speak? Well, it's often the same thing, right? You have a devil down here doing devilly things, and maybe the devil falls in love with something beautiful, true, and good, and the devil falls in love with the angel, right? And the angel says, well, you're strong, you're mature, you have a wonderful presence, you're a good swordsman, I like you, you're handsome. But, you need to do some good deeds. Like what? Well, I'm trying to protect this village. They're getting cholera over here. So the demon starts, digging wells and, cleansing the cholera and healing the sick, right? And helping people protect against other demons, right? And the demon moves into they're following their muse, their sense of beauty, truth, and goodness. They saw this wonderful person, right? And often you see this wave pattern where the demon will come up and be doing good stuff, and then you'll find that the heaven kingdom can't stand this confusion, because there really are no demons, there are no deities. They're just different operating systems, different states of being, and human beings can be reptilian, sociopathic, they can be empathic, they can be transcendent, and they can be doing that rationally or irrationally, a variety of things. But often people get upset when people leave their boxes. You're a bad person, stop doing nice things, basically. So one of the things that often happens is, a demon starts down here, falls in love with an angel, moves all the way up here, does nice things, is enjoying their life, helping people. And then the demon wants to marry the girl. And the girl is, Heaven King's daughter or something like that. Well, Heaven King wants nothing to do with the demon, right? No, they're beneath us, blah, 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 they're bad, etc. And so the Heaven King will be sociopathic, stubborn, reptilian, right? And this is why I say the Chinese do a much better job of understanding that there are no good and bad guys in a more complex understanding of reality. So usually what will happen is maybe the Heaven King will bribe the demon not to marry his sister. So the Heaven King will become a demon in reality, wearing their white robes and all that. But we'll basically say, if you don't step away from my daughter, I'll kill your young brother. Well, then the demon who's become an angel will become a demon again to protect his brother and go to war with the heaven, who already is a demon. They're just wearing white clothes, right? And the girl's in the middle, right? And so it's a drama that's much more interesting and complex because it's showing the reality, which is that as human beings, we're going between these three brains every single day. Like, I might look at an email from a friend, feel love and gratitude and empathy. Then I look at an email from a client and I feel frightened and angry. And I look at an email with an employee and I write off something, you better fix this or you're fired, get this done, and this other one, I've got to write this in this way so that they'll be willing to do something. I'm a manipulator, right? So I'm moving between transcendence and gratitude and strategic manipulation framed in spiritual terms to try and make someone feel guilty to do something, to frustrated fury that I can't get what I want over here, those bastards, my self-pity and all my reptilian brain. And then back up to, let me watch this video over here by Eckhart Tolle, right? And then, watch that and say, what a nice thing. And then back to, I've got to do this and this so I can make enough money to attend an Eckhart Tolle event, right? And so we're constantly going between the reptilian and the empathic and the transcendent states. That's reality. And so the mythology that we want to explore and understand is not about the good people and the bad people. It's about the ecological framework that fosters a reptilian direction in various human beings and in ourselves, and the ecological parameters and variables that foster the movement from the reptilian brain to the human brain to the transcendent brain. I hope you found this as fun as I have, and we'll leave it at that.